Okay, I am ready to get started. Okay, so hopefully my screen is coming across. Can someone confirm that?
Yes, Sean. So let's give it a few more minutes. The people are just joining in. So.
Oh, okay, perfect, fantastic. Just let me know when to get started. I'll leave this on the screen and just give me the thumbs up, and then I'll begin the presentation.
Okay. Yeah. All right, I think we can get started, Sean. Looks like people are still joining in. We're having some website issues, but as we work on that, we can get started and let people join in. So,
okay.
Hello and welcome, everyone. We have Sean Pales from Prosimetry online with us to talk about resource portfolio management, a very hot topic and something that not a lot of the out-of-the-box tools can do. I'm sure he will walk us through several interesting demos. So go ahead and take over, Sean.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Sean Palis. I'm with Prosimetry. There's going to be some background noise. I apologize. We're just wrapping up here at the Gartner event in London. And what I want to show you today is how you can leverage our product, Tempus Resource, with your existing investment in Microsoft Project, Microsoft Project Server, and Project Online to extend your resource forecast and capacity planning capabilities. Our product, Tempus Resource, is a purpose-built resource portfolio management solution. We can help you in a number of ways. You'll see some case examples here in live demos of how you can take existing data from Project Server and actually make and identify options and make decisions with the data much more effectively. Okay, So a little bit of background, you can check us out on the Gartner Peer Insights website, where we're reviewed by customers. These are all vetted by Gartner. We have a very high rating. The number keeps climbing. This product is deployed globally to customers using Project Server and a range of other PPM tools. So we support connections to not only Project Server and Microsoft-related tools, but also other tools like Smartsheet and Workfront and Jira and ServiceNow, and the list goes on. And we also have our own API. So if you wanted to write your own integrations, you can freely do so. We were named the Resource Portfolio Management Solution for Strategic Decision Making and the Gartner Cool Vendor for PPM by, of course, the infamous Gartner agency. We provide seamless off-the-shelf integration with the various Microsoft products, and I'll show you all those in a moment, including Microsoft Project Pro or Standard on the desktop, Project Server 07, 10, 13, 16, and of course, Project Online. So we support all of those right out of the gate. So what I think I'm going to do is, in the interest of time, take us directly into a live instance. So instead of, what is that? Okay. That might be down. So instead of taking you through a bunch of slides, I'm going to take you directly into the product. I'm going to take you back to the Tempus homepage here. So this is an entirely web-based application. We have customers that will use this and put data directly into the product, import data from spreadsheets, or of course leverage these Microsoft tools. The product has a comprehensive audit logging feature. So any change made here, any updates based on imports are all logged in this audit log. So you have full traceability and understanding of the before and after effects of any change. So this is a forensically sort of untamperable audit log that stores every change made on every bit of information in the system. Now, when it comes to connecting to Microsoft products, we take a look at our admin settings section. You see a variety of features here, and I want to pay particular attention to data synchronization. Under the hood, I have a few different synchronizations deployed. Whoops, clicking that again. We have MPP, so this gives you an option to drag and drop your Microsoft project files directly into the system and upload them, along with the resources that are assigned and the tasks that are created. We have connections to Project Server and Project Online, Excel, and even if necessary, on-premise, direct SQL connections to 7, 10, and Project Server 2013. You'll see some other connectors here as well. Now, in the case of using Microsoft project files, MPP, you can simply drag and drop files directly onto the surface. So if you have a handful of MPP files, you simply drag and drop those right here, hit synchronize, and the system will upload those projects, the allocations, the tasks, merge those with other data that have already been imported or uploaded to the system. Or if you're starting from scratch, of course, that'll populate the system with data. So you can use this almost like a lightweight PPM tool with a centralized resource pool without having to invest in all of the trimming of common Project Server. So that is one option you have. If you have Project Server in place today, you can very easily make the connection using this MS Project option. And from here, you'll notice connections to Project Server Online or Project Server 2013 and 2016. Of course, 7 and 10 are also supported. Those are done just a little bit differently. Now, when synchronizing, you'd simply specify the URL, username, and password. You can also specify your synchronization pattern. Does this happen on a schedule? And if so, does it run weekly or every day, every hour, so on and so forth? When you bring data across from Project Server, it's going to bring over your project and resource attributes, your resource pool data, including all named and generic resources, their capacity. It'll bring over all projects with associated attributes, start and finish dates, and all of the time-phased assignment work for those projects. There's additional filtering options and additional setup, and you'll notice up on the right-hand side, you have additional options around if you're going to bring over actuals, not bring over actuals. We can put data into different data sets. You have lots of flexibility, again, based on the many hundreds of customers using this in the Project Server space alone. Now, when the synchronization runs, it's going to bring over data. And the first place you'd want to go to see this is the resource management screen. This screen will bring across all of the resources that have been synchronized. It'll bring over all of their allocations, all of their capacity data, and all of their attributes. So in the case of Gerald, you can see we've brought across rates, we've brought across various attributes of position and role, and it's also brought across under capacity, what is the time phase base capacity of the resource based on your max unit setting, calendars, and so on. So this will all populate for you. Next, we'll take a look at the project management inventory. So the data that are brought across from project server would appear here. You have the ability to import various attribute types, graphical indicators, selection fields, multi-selection, Boolean, text, string, date, and so on. And all that comes across seamlessly. And when we drill down, you'll see it's going to bring across all of the attributes as well as the allocations. Now in this case, of course, I picked one that has nothing. Let me back out and pick a better example. Sorry. Let's see if I can get a better one here. I'm a Sputnik Phase 8. These are all just kind of made up names we have. Naturally, I picked another one. One more time, if I can get a good one. Piglet Phase 10. And I'm 0 for 3 today. So in any case, we're just going to move on from there. But keep in mind the allocations do come across with that synchronization. Now, once you've brought all these data across from your project server instance, that's where things get much more interesting in the Tempus world. And where I'm going to take you is into the what-if analysis side of the product. So in general, when you're synchronizing, there's probably 2 places you're going to work. One of them is on the report management side. So we give you purpose-built, resource-focused reporting capabilities, all drag and drop functionality, also capabilities that allow you to view your time-phased allocation versus supply. We'll take a look at that in a moment. What I want to take you first is into the what-if analysis side of the product, and that's here under this purple tile. When I click on that tile, that's going to launch in a separate tab. And what you're seeing here are what we call models. So models are essentially dynamic reports that let you pull together all of your data from project server or elsewhere, make decisions, play games, conduct what-if analysis without altering your live system data. So if we take a look here, the way we create a model is we click on this plus icon, give this a name, call this Conference 1, call it whatever you'd like. End users can apply their own specific security, and you can then define the time range of your forecast. So let's say in this case, I want to look at, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the year. You would normally just go from the current date forward. So let's say we want to start in 2018, and I can look out 1, 3, 5, up to 10 years. Let's make this a 5-year model. Next, I can choose how I wish to aggregate my resource information. So these are going to be my single selection resource custom fields. And you might have things here like position, role, department, location, home office, employment basis, and so on. In this case, we'll start with maybe position role. Now, from that position role, how do I want, or which of those specific position role values do I wish to include? So in this case, I'm going to do a select all, grab them all. Now, you can also add additional levels. So while I can look at this group at one level, I can add additional levels to a hierarchy. So I might now say I want to look at my position role, but I then want to roll up by employment basis or drill down to employment basis, specifically my consultants, contractors, staff, and so on. You can choose to include additional fields in certain pop-ups, typically priority-driven fields, but in this case, maybe we'll pick client. And then down below, I can choose the various projects I wish to include. Now, you can include them all very easily. You can dynamically set this up. You can filter for various projects. You can set projects as proposals. So when they come into your model, they're effectively excluded from the utilization calculations. And there's also much more sophisticated advanced reporting where I can further refine the data included in the allocation and demand and or the supply data. This gets much more sophisticated, but this capability exists for, again, some of our more advanced end users. So now I'll hit save, and this in effect creates a model. It's a little virtual reality that pulls all that data from Project Server and lets you play these what-if games to answer real and relevant questions from your PMO, from your stakeholders, from customers, so on. So let's go ahead and click on the model. and this will launch the model. It's grabbing all the data live and in real time. And this will now return to me, based on all my setups, 2 core panels. Now the top panel contains all the projects I've included, and I can drag this down to see more space. I can insert additional columns, I can filter, I can sort, but notice at the top, there's a number of projects that are grayed out. Those are proposals. And the use case here, which is one of the most common we see, is I've got, let's say, 100 projects that are in flight in Project Server, and then I have 15 or 20 proposals that I pull in from Project Online, Smartsheet, Excel, or I directly enter in the system. We see all sorts of use cases. You typically might want to ask, well, when can I do these? Or what is the impact of approving that proposal? And we allow you to do that instantly and in real time. And we'll come back and look at that example in a moment. The lower half of the screen contains your dynamic resource views. These are built in. Everything you're seeing here requires no configuration. Once it's synced, this is all set up and immediately available. You have a range of views ranging from a heat map, so density of over allocations ranging from green to red. You can alter the strata, the points at which we flip from green to red, yellow to red, so on and so forth. You can build that out. You can sort by the various columns. You can choose to render the data by hours or FTE. You can view it by month, week, day, quarter. And of course, there's exports throughout the application to drop these into PDF or Excel. Notice you can also expand. So in this case, we group first by position role. So let's say we want to look at our consultants. And next, I added a second level, which was employment basis. So inside of my consultants, I see them now grouped by their employment basis. And I can now further drill down to see the named individuals. And we support multiple levels of grouping. So you could continue to add those levels of grouping, to further drill into resources and add context where appropriate. You can click on any cell to see what's driving demand for that named resource, role, skill, department, by day, week, month, quarter. You can see those projects, any fields you've added, the hours or FTE, the utilization percentage. And then there's some quick links here to quickly see the effect of canceling or putting the project on hold, as well as our opportunity map feature to see when a project could be moved to. We'll take a look at that in more detail in a bit. You can also navigate the other views. We have, of course, a cool map, so density of under allocation. We have graphing views that will show us net surplus, net deficit in a graphical manner, along with some delta information so you can see the before and after effect of making changes. And then we also have a grid view, which displays the numeric net surplus, net deficit, with additional options, including overlaying heat maps, showing only surplus, only deficit, raw allocation, raw capacity, or of course the calculated net availability. So tons of flexibility in these views, and these are configured right off the shelf for you. Now, common use cases include a number of different what-if steps. Things like I mentioned earlier, hey, we have a bunch of projects in flight. I want to know the effect of approving various proposals. In Tempus, this is really simple to do. In my model on the top, again, you see various projects that are proposals. I could do something as simple as saying, well, this whole USA Phase 7, what if we do it? And if I do it exactly as it's planned, and click Include, this will now simulate the effects of approving that project as it's currently planned. And now everything in these screens recalculates, including the grid, graph, heat map, cool map, and now we also have this delta view. And the delta view will show us the before and after effect in terms of percentages of allocation by our roles, named individuals, and it shows us, again, who was impacted and what was the before and what is the after effect. Now you can view these changes not only with each simulated change, but you can also view them cumulatively. So if you wanted to see where did I start this model and what have I arrived at, you can run a simulation in that manner. Okay, so that's one example. Another example is asking the product, well, instead of just approving as it's planned, if I do approve it, where could I or when could I do it? This is another support mechanism, an analytical feature that trims the amount of time it takes to find optimal scenarios. So let's now pick on maybe this coal phase 14 and ask the product, when can I do it? And this is that opportunity map feature I mentioned earlier. When I click on it, it immediately tells me, based on everything that's currently planned for the next however many years I have on my model, what is the best I can do? And you'll see in this case, the best we can do is get 97% of what we need on 6 different occasions when we look at it by month. And there's a number of options up here that we can use to filter this further. You can drill into each option and see why. So you can see the before and after effect by month. And you can also click on these to see if it is moved to this date, what is the resulting effect on that role or named individual. You can also adjust this slider. So I can pull this slider back and ask the product to provide more options. Okay, so I drag this back. We can now get 83%, or the max we could get is 83%. So now I have 20 options, right? And again, you can see the before and after. So you can play with this slider. You can also adjust the target time range. So if you said it's got to happen before maybe mid-2020, and I'm willing to live with getting up to 83% of what I need, well, in this case, you have 3 options. And if you like any of these options, you can very simply select apply. That would approve the proposal and shift it to that date inside of the model. Okay. Now, as you make these changes in your model, they're all stored in this multi-level undo stack. Not only does this serve as an undo mechanism to undo these steps individually, you can also do it in bulk, but you can also use it as a history list. You can go here to essentially export any of the changes you've made inside of your model, which can then be implemented in the underlying system. These information are also accessible programmatically. So using the API, you could read from this history list and then push these changes to the relevant source system, whether that's Project Online or Project Server. Other capabilities. So if we jump to the heat map, and if we pick on a particular group, so let's look at Lawrence Bell, who's on our full-time staff and is a consultant. If I click in any particular month, I can see the competing projects. And if I wanted to know maybe which ones are using the most amount of utilization, and I wanted to know what's the impact of changing the timing of this project. Another really simple and commonly used use case. I would click on that project and that'll snap to in the top section. Now I can ask the question, what if I delay this project? And in this case, I'm simply going to shift this out. Maybe we'll go out to 2020, release, and the product recalculates again all the allocations, all the costs, all the FTE data, and those immediately re-render in the screens. And of course, a delta view shows the net effect. So we can shift, approve, cancel. I optimize opportunities for where things can be moved to. We can also see the effects of expanding or contracting. So if I pick one particular project here and want to know the results of maybe doubling the timeline, I can expand this and notice the numbers calculate in real time. And let's say we expand this by 100%. Close enough. When I release the cursor, it recalculates all the underlying allocations. And you have 2 methods when you expand or contract. And underneath each project, you can see that you have the ability to fix the values. So basically assume the work is fixed and you're just expanding or contracting. So your allocation levels drop or increase based on whether you're expanding or contracting respectively. Your other option is to fix the percentage, in which case the system assumes the longer it goes, the more work there is to do, or the shorter it goes, the less work there is to do. So you have flexibility in how you calculate the allocations when expanding or contracting. Under the hood here, in this project options menu, you'll see other options, including the ability to exclude or cancel the project, access that opportunity map analytical feature we looked at a moment ago, We can lock projects to prevent them from being shifted. You can create precedence relationships, linkages between projects inside of the model. And you can also, and this is one of our newer features, it's really cool, is you can clone projects inside the model. The use case here is, let's assume, and let's pick on one project, maybe this IT staff training phase 19. What if we say, we're going to do the same thing next year, but I don't want to go through the work of creating a project in Project Server or creating some resource profile somewhere. I just want to know what's going to happen if we do that. Well, I can click on this project, go to clone, give this a new name, set a new target date, and I can also make some assumptions around, is it going to be the same size? Or is it going to be less? Or is it going to be much, much larger? So you can say here, for example, I think this will be essentially 5 times the amount of effort, or 5 times the percentage. So you can expand or contract the project in a similar fashion as we did earlier without having to create additional projects in the underlying, let's say, Project Server environment. So really cool feature. This also addresses that common use case, which is how many projects can I do next year? So we get asked that a lot. And customers can use this clone command to quickly create multiple projects inside of the model and see where they start to go over. Okay, so expand, contract, shifting things around. Now we can also drill down to the resource level. And to do that, at the top of the screen, we'll click on resource. And this will show us now all of our named individuals. So all the named resources used across the projects we've included. You can see the roll-up levels of allocation. This is pretty nasty data. And you can also overlay a heat map on top of this. So you can look at it by named individual and see these allocations. If you want, we'll keep this on, and let's take a look at a few additional features here. One, you click on a name, drill down, and while we can expand and drill down into the individual assignments, you can do a few things here. One, you can alter the allocations. So if you disagree with what you're seeing from what's coming from Project Server or elsewhere, you can simply double click and adjust this and say this resource is really going to be 50% on this project for that month. I hit return, the system automatically updates. Down below, you can see again the before and after effect of having made that change. Additionally, this screen will support things like search and replace. So if I wanted to unwind some over allocations here or see the effect of replacing resources, you can click, select replace, and this will now show me all of the peers for that particular resource. So in this case, Adam McGrath is coded as a consultant. This shows me all the other consultants, their allocations, and the time range of the task that we're effectively replacing. Now from this screen, you can switch views, you can insert additional resources, or you can say, well, I'm going to replace Adam with Amy as well as Betty. So I can split the work across multiple replacement resources. Or you could look at other roles. You could say, I want to look at contractors, or I want to look at this by home office, location, manager. It's up to you. So you could use this for searching, or you could simulate actually reallocating the work from one to many or one-to-one resources inside the model. Now when doing this, you have the option to essentially distribute the work linearly, or you can do so according to a contour. You can also change the timing of when the work is done. So you might have Amy doing some of this work, or the work starting in September, whereas Betty is going to do the work through maybe October. Notice the work is spread evenly across the two, and I can then apply. So an additional set of what-if actions at the named resource level. Now, if we flip this and go to a much higher level, and I'll return back to our project view, there's also in the top right here a strategic view. So if you wanted to make decisions in bulk, things like canceling projects in mass, changing project timing in bulk, you can do that here. by using your project custom fields. From here, I might roll these up maybe by phase or client or location or department. And when I do this, this will collapse or effectively group the projects based on how these attributes are associated. From here, I can now do things like everything we're doing for client A, we're going to delay until 2019. So now in bulk, I can move an entire program, an entire portfolio, an entire contract out whatever time range. Or you have the option maybe for client G to say, we're losing this client, or this business is being sold off, or something of that nature. So now I can exclude or put these all on hold. And again, immediately see the effects of taking that particular action. Okay. So lots and lots of what if stuff. Much more here, but I want to move a little more quickly. And then I'll also show you that in addition to attacking things from the numerator side, we can also look at this from the denominator side. So what about headcount? What if we wanted to see the effects of reducing headcount or adding headcount? That can be done directly below inside any of these dynamic resource views. So in my heat map, for example, if I wanted to simulate maybe adding headcount or reducing headcount, maybe for my developer group. Okay, so let's expand this out. And now, at these various levels, it's up to you to choose where you do this. Maybe you want to see the effect of adding consultants. So my accounting group and the consultants therein, I might want to see the effect of adding, let's say, 2 or 3 new headcount, and also the time range over which I'm doing that. In the opposite direction, you could decrease. So I could say, what's the effect of reducing headcount by number or by percentage? I might say, I want to reduce my staff in this area by, let's say, 50%. And I can update the preview and immediately see the effects. And if I wish, then apply those changes in my model. So if management, excuse me, is asking you, hey, we're going to be reducing headcount in a particular area of the business, what impact does that have? You can run that type of simulation quickly, easily, painlessly, again, using your existing project server data. Now, as you make these changes, they are all auto-saved in the model only. They do not impact the underlying data. So this is all essentially hidden from whomever you wish to hide it from. So it can be done as secretively as you wish. At this point, I would simply click on the back arrow, and this will drop me back into the model listing screen. All right, so it's that simple. Everything is auto-saved. You can now return to that same model to make additional changes, to alter or conduct additional what-if actions. All right, so very powerful what-if analysis capabilities to extend your existing investment in Project Server, Project Online, or Microsoft Project on the desktop. Okay, what I'm going to do next is jump back to the main screen of Tempus and show you some additional report writing capabilities. Now, those exist here under Report Management. So if I click on this, this takes me to my 5 different report writers and my dashboard development tool. Now, your pivot grid and pivot chart are going to essentially allow you to build pivot table and graphical versions that are very similar to what you do in Excel, except you can explore all of your data. So as an example, if we launch our pivot grid, we can provide a name, a description. So let's say this is Project Conference 2018. You can also target not only your live system data, what's come over from Project Server or Project Online, but you can also target your models. So if you wanted to build a report that says, show me allocations based on my worst case assumptions, you can do that. Next, you have your dimensions tab, and it all becomes a matter of dragging and dropping. So I'll drop on my year, month, and then maybe some of my custom fields. Let's see what I have here. Perhaps client. And then maybe I want to drill down to project. And then lastly, I might look at my measures, which might be planned allocation. And there we go. So really simple to build these reports. And once they're constructed, end users can traverse through the various dimensions, access what they need, export to various formats, and also access parameters that are built in. So any of the dimensions you've included can be used to filter or modify the report at runtime. So if an end user is only interested in maybe client A and B, they can run the report. Excuse me. There's client A and B and get what they need very quickly. So this is a built-in report writer, very, very widely used. Now, in addition, you have a graphical variant. And while we can create these from scratch, you can also take existing reports and convert them into their graphical alternative, clone that report, run it, and the end user can then traverse the various display options, stacked bar, vertical bar, pie charts, line charts, area, tile map, table, stacked bar percentage with drill down. So you can sort of decompose all of your data to the most elemental levels. So those are our pivot chart and pivot grid reports. We then have 3 additional report writers called RAR, and that stands for Resource Allocation Reporting. And the one I want to focus on is RAR2. This is our most powerful report writer. It's very widely used. And let me find a specific example to kind of give you an idea of what we're after here. So many of our customers are trying to answer just this question, which is, let me lay in multiple data sets. I want to see my head count. I want to see my capacity after I extract things like holidays and sick leave. Let me show my actuals over some period, maybe a partial period. And then let me see what I forecast going forward. Within our RAR2 report writer, you can build these reports very easily. If I show you this in edit mode, all we're doing is bringing together multiple data sets, choosing our own filtering options, so I can show you here, choosing to display as different chart types, stacking the data according to different attributes, and simply incorporating that into the setup of this report. So adding a new data set here, really simple. You'd click plus, choose the data set you wish to add. You can then tell the system to view as a line, a bar, area, or different format, and then choose what to filter on, how to stack, and so on. I'm going to reset in this case. So again, we can layer in multiple data sets to draw these complex and sophisticated supply-demand graphics. We had customers that used to do this stuff with PowerPoint. They would literally draw these bars manually because doing this with other reporting tools just proved to be so complicated to do. Okay, so these are built in. And then when you have multiple reports assembled, you can essentially pull them together into dashboard-style displays. So let's take an example here, maybe this particular dash. This allows you to pull together multiple reports, drill through, drill down, and this is all done inside of a single panel. So end user can have their own dashboard that allows them to look at data from their particular department, their particular region, or they can target various models which you can create, expose to them, and then have dashboards that look into maybe your worst case, best case, and sort of moderate case scenarios. Okay. Again, all purpose-built resource forecasting and capacity planning capabilities. I didn't mention it, but we have a number of customers that also will use the product with direct entry. And one particular case where you might have a mixed mode deployment is if you were maybe a power user taking advantage of resource plans in Project Server. Those have since disappeared, and you might need a way to simply, at a high level, forecast without getting into task level granularity. We fully support that, and again, have many customers that will mix data from Project Server and direct entry, mostly because they need that high level forecasting. To show you how that's done, let me just quickly jump to our project management tile. I'll create a new project. Let's call this Project Conference PC5. I can complete any of the attributes here. I can also do that inline. Next, I can go to my Allocations tab, specify the time frame of this project. Maybe it's going to start around February in 2019 and go until the end of 2019. Okay. And now I can immediately start pulling from my resource pool, or I can create this and then quickly jump to a similarly titled Build Team screen that shows me all the resources, their remaining availability by time, by cost, by FTE, or by FTE percentage. I can add those resources I need. I can search by role, skill, department, or name, any attribute you wish. Add them to my team, save, return to my allocation grid, check this out, and then select the resources I need. We'd also allow you to bring across your generic resources as well. And then we'd also give you the option by month, week, or day to allocate in terms of hours, cost, FTE, or FTE percentage. So instead of building out a complex project schedule, you might just say at a high level, I'm going to need Alexandra 90%, Allison 50%, Amanda 25%, the remainder 10%. And I can simply click and drag that across. So exceptionally simple Excel-like interface on the web from which you can do this forecasting for early stages. Now you'll notice here that we've also have a built-in resource request workflow process that goes beyond the scope of today's presentation. If you'd like to learn more, we're happy to walk you through it. We do offer free 30-day trials. It is a cloud-based application. If your organization requires air gap or high security, it can be deployed on premise, but everything in the cloud is fully GDPR compliant, encrypted both at rest and in transit, and we do offer a range of data sovereignty options. This is hosted in the Microsoft Azure platform. Okay, so we could kind of go on and on endlessly. What I want to do at this point is essentially head back to my home page here and kind of open things up for questions. So at this point, I'm going to be quiet, and if there's any questions, I will take them and do my best to answer them. And thank you.
All right. Jim had actually a question, but looks like you already answered that in your presentation. Just for the benefit of other people, I'm going to just read out the question. Is it possible to allow a cycle time tracking to compare project to not count cycle time while a project is on hold?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Is it possible to allow a cycle time tracking to compare project to not count cycle time while a project is on hold?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what that means. So if you put a project on hold inside of the Tempus model, it's effectively excluded, and you're looking forward in time. So while we used to have an option where you could split projects and kind of say, well, we'll do half the project this year, half the next, it turned out to be not very widely used. Everything we do in the system is voice of customer. So if it's not a widely used feature, it does either get removed or it gets deprioritized. In this case, that wasn't widely used, the whole split function. So if you do put it on hold in a model, it assumes that it's essentially out of the resource management pipeline and is not scheduled for work until you bring it back in and set its new date.
Okay. That was pretty much the only question we had. So Sean, if people have more questions, they can definitely contact you. I'm assuming you have a slide that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So let me bring this up, and I have sort of slide deck after slide deck. Let's go to the end here. I believe this has contact information. No, not this one. My Gartner presentation. This does. There we go. Let's use this one. So you can reach out to me directly. Here's my email and phone. You can contact our head of sales, Greg Bailey. There's his email and phone. Of course, you can access our website, prosymmetry.com, and submit requests there asking for a trial or more information. So please reach out if you have questions or do want to try out the product. Again, this is a widely deployed, purpose-built resource forecasting capacity planning solution. I think you'll find quite a bit of benefit. So again, thank you again for listening in on this presentation.
All right, thank you, Sean, for the great presentation. For all the attendees, this is being recorded and it will be available on demand in 24 hours. So if you still have any questions, please feel free to contact Sean. And we'll be starting the next session in a few minutes. Thank you.